viewers, I am Shelly Moise, owner of Noelle's Garden Bath and Body, where we make body and skin care products. We make lotion, we make soap, we make body butters, we make fragrance oil. So today we are going to talk about additives in soap making. Additives are an excellent way, they're an excellent way for you to kind of distinguish your soaps one from another. They are a great way to make your soaps fragrant and colorful and beautiful and make them really attractive to our senses. To really attract the eye. And then we add different fragrances in them to attract the nose and to, to please the nose, and sometimes for medicinal purposes. And then we add other types of additives, sugar type additives and milks and cream type additives, oat type additives, and a lot of times those are actually skin nourishing additives. So we're going to get into those as well. Again, I'm going to lift my notebook because I'm no spring chicken. I need to be able to see, and I've written quite a bit of notes. So the first additive we're going to get into is milk. You hear a lot of people talk about, oh, I add a little bit of heavy cream into my soap, or I add goat's milk into my soap. I add a lot of goat's milk in my soap. A lot of people add goat's milk powder into their soap. And then you wonder kind of why, why do we add milk to our soap? What does it bring? Well, milk provides a creamy lather. It provides a mildness. And generally, it will add bubbles to your soap. It can be combined a few different ways. There's always more than one way to skin a cat. You can use powdered goat's milk, which will come similar to this, or you can buy powdered goat's milk in a can, and you can add that directly to your soap batter. You can add your soap directly to your lye, which is quite tricky. A lot of times people don't like to do it, but you can absolutely do it. Many people do it. You can add your lye to your milk, I should say, not milk to your lye. We always add our lye to our liquid ingredient. So you can add your milk to your lye that way, or you can reduce the amount of liquid that you're using with your lye and use the balance of that in milk added to your oils or added at trace. So there are many, many ways that you can do it. What does milk bring? Well, milk's from animal fat. So our goat's milk, our buttermilk, and our cream, they include lactic acid, which helps remove dead skin cells. Goat's milk has vitamin A, which helps repair damaged skin, reduce fine wrinkles, and assist with controlling acne, and it can help provide relief from other skin issues. So things like mild skin issues like psoriasis or eczema. Milk can really help to soothe those kind of issues when used in soap. It's also creamy, so it assists with moisturizing dry skin and softening dry skin. Milk has a high fatty content, also making it excellent in soaps again as a moisturizer and a skin softener. Coconut milk is antimicrobial, it is antibacterial, and it contains lauric acid, lactic acid, lauric acid, which is also good for acne and skin related issues. So when soaping with milk, if you've never soaped with milk, there are a few things that you really need to know about the properties of milk. Number one, milk has sugar in it. And we're going to discuss sugars in soap as well as an additive. So that is going to heat up your soap. Remember, we said soap is exothermic. That reaction when you combine your sodium hydroxide water mixture to your oils, that mixture is exothermic. It creates its own heat and it's going to heat up on its own. But sugars add extra heat. They create extra heat. So you need to know that the sugar in the milk is going to cause your soap to heat up. Okay, you need to know that. And when it heats up, that heat can cause other problems. And I should have gone over my definitions first. I forgot to start with my definitions. That sugar can cause your soap recipe to accelerate, which means it moves faster. It goes through its process faster. It begins to heat up and thicken up faster. It accelerates the process. So when you hear people say, oh my gosh, my soap accelerated, that's what it means. It means that process sped up and it moved faster than it normally would. It can, and then we say that it accelerates trace. Well, what is trace? Trace is the point at which you have begun the process of making your soap into soap. It is not the end of the process. It is just when that process has begun. So understand that milks are going to cause your formula to accelerate. So if you use milk, you want to soap at a cooler temperature than normal. So generally room temperature is what we say to soap at. You do not want your soap to gel. By gelling, that refers to a part of the soap making process when it does begin to generate that extra heat. It goes through a phase of what we call gel phase. It gets extremely hot, maybe around 120 to 130 degrees Fahrenheit, and it changes in color. It becomes a deeper, fuller, richer color. So if you're going to use milk, I would suggest not allowing your soap to gel, and you prevent gel by putting your soap in the refrigerator or even in the freezer. Okay? So those are some things. Oh, and some sugar content facts. So again, your sugar is kind of what controls that heating. So if you're going to use milk and you're kind of deciding, do I want to use goat's milk? Do I want to use just a little bit of heavy whipping cream? Do I want to use coconut milk? Do I want to use buttermilk? Because buttermilk is also used in soaping. You can allow the sugar content to kind of guide you by that, and that'll kind of let you know to what degree to expect surprises. So the higher the sugar content, you are more likely to expect some acceleration, some quick movement, and again, if you're going to allow it to gel, even some darkening with the color of your soap. Okay? So those are that's our milk. We're going to talk about oats just for a minute. Oats, generally you hear the term colloidal oats in soap. In fact, yesterday a lady asked me which soap on my webpage did I recommend for her skin. And I told her that I recommend the chamomile, oatmeal milk, and honey soap. And that is because that soap has all four of those ingredients. It has chamomile tea, oats, milk, and honey. Oats are historically known, they are widely known for their ability to reduce skin inflammation, to activate immune cells in the skin, and it is used to treat a very wide variety of inflammatory skin issues. In fact, it is so effective that the FDA regulates oats as a skin protectant. So oats, while humectants draw moisture from the air to your skin, oats help to keep that moisture, to lock in that moisture to your skin. And they really soothe problematic skin because of that. They're rich in vitamins, rich in minerals that just allow the skin to regenerate and to just really protect and soothe irritated skin. So if you're looking for a good bar of soap that's going to soothe irritated skin or problematic skin, you definitely want to look for a skin with oats. Okay, So we have our milk, our buttermilk, our coconut, our cream, our coconut milk, our cream, and we have our oats. What's next to talk about? Well, you will also hear, especially with me, a lot of soapers that add sugars to their soap. By sugars, I mean honey, maple syrup, and or molasses. So let's talk about sugars. Those three, honey, maple syrup, and molasses, are all humectants. So they pull that moisture out of the air and they draw it to your skin. So automatically you have an ingredient that's going to help dry skin have just a little bit more moisture. And then the addition of oats helps the skin to retain and keep that moisture in the skin. The sugar itself assists with bubbles. Sugar in soap making creates bubbles, and that goes for any sugar. The sugar here in honey, molasses, or maple syrup, the sugar that is in milk, even plain table sugar dissolved in water will help will increase the bubbles that are in your lather. And it is an excellent way and an alternative way to increasing the bubbles without increasing your coconut oil, which, as we discussed last week, can be drying in soap making. In soap making, again, because those sugars, because it is a sugar, that's what it is a sugar, it's going to really speed up. It's really going to accelerate that process, that soap making process in your soap. So if you're going to use honey, molasses, or maple syrup in your soap, you really need to be prepared to move quickly. How do you add it into your soap? You generally add it at trace. I think the best way would be to leave back a little bit of your water, maybe a half an ounce or an ounce, it really doesn't matter, however much you choose. And you want to warm it up just a little bit and combine that water with your sugar. Excuse me. Because honey and molasses, because they are so thick, you want to make sure that it's able to combine in your soap instead of just sinking at the bottom and then have a layer of this sugar that has not properly been mixed into your soap. So you want to heat your water just a little bit, combine your sugar with that water, and then add that in at trace, or you can even add it into your oils. That's the best way to combine your sugars into your soap. Now, unlike the amount of sugar that is in milk, this is a sugar. So not only can you expect it to quickly, to very much accelerate that soap making process, you can expect it to darken your soap. In fact, with molasses, this is the molasses I use, and you can see just how dark that is all by itself. With molasses, I use it as a natural color. I will combine it with a fragrance that also discolors, and I will use the molasses to naturally brown my soap if I need a brown in my soap. And this soap here, this is an end piece. This soap here is a soap where I did that. I separated the white and I did not add molasses to the white part. I added the molasses and the discoloring fragrance to the brown because I wanted a soap that I didn't need to use any color in. And I didn't need to use any brown extra, any additional unnatural colors in here because the fragrance and the molasses did it all itself. Now, honey will also discolor, but you can kind of control how much these sugars are going to discolor depending on how hot you allow your soap to get. So with this soap, which is my oatmeal milk and honey, I added quite a bit of honey to this soap. But then I put this soap either in the refrigerator or in the freezer. I'd have to check my notes. And that prevented it from going through gel and becoming too dark. Otherwise, you can very easily get a soap that is somewhere around this color with honey. Particularly if you use honey with hot processed soap. Particularly because the soap is already hot. So you want to make sure if you're doing hot processed soap and you don't really want to drastically darken your soap, you want to allow your soap to cool down to maybe around 170 degrees and then add your molasses or your honey. And just know that your soap is still going to darken. It is just not going to darken as much as if you had added your honey or your molasses to your piping hot soap. Okay? So that's kind of how we handle our sugars. Let me make sure I have everything that I wanted to discuss with my sugars. Okay, so our next one is colors that we want to discuss. And there are a few types of colorants. There are, when it comes to soap making, there are even more when it comes to other cosmetics, but when it comes to soap making, we generally use three types of colors. We use micas, we use oxides, and we use natural colors. Micas are cosmetic grade fine powders that are usually contain a slight to intense shimmer. Natural micas are mined from minerals, but they are almost completely unstable in soap making. So generally, when we refer to a mica, we're referring to something that may or may not have trace minerals of natural micas, but they are colored with either FD&C colorants, DNC colorants, or some type of an oxide, which we'll talk about next. Micas are generally combined with an oil to disperse in your soap, although a lot of soapers will add the mica directly into the soap batter and use their stick blender to add it in, but I find that when I do that, I usually get clumps of mica in my soap. Mica can also be added to water. I know a lot of soap makers that use water to disperse their mica, and then they add that to soap. So here are a couple of my micas. This one is my green. And I don't have very good lighting in here. I was hoping I would be able to catch the shimmer. But they tend to have a lot of shimmer. Really, really pretty. Although that shimmer doesn't always come through very well in soap, it comes through very well on the top of the soap. And it comes through beautifully in melt and pour soap. And this is another mica here. Again, a lot of companies, one in particular, they pride themselves on using natural micas and oxides in their soap making. Oh, what else is mica used for? Mica is also used for other cosmetics, like your makeup. Generally, a lot of times your eyeshadow will be, your blush, it'll be mica that is used in your makeup. So if you go to a cosmetics company, you want to make sure that you read the reviews on your micas, because I personally have purchased mica that I intended to use in my soap and then used it and was very disappointed in the outcome because I did not read the reviews, which clearly stated this is not a stable mica in soap making. This mica is used for maybe melt and pour or maybe makeup, but it is unstable in soap making. So you definitely, when it comes to purchasing micas, You want to make sure that you read the description very well and that you read reviews so that you know with this mica, does it come out light? Does it come out dark? Does the mica differ whether the soap is gelled or ungelled? And how much is that difference? Because a lot of times they'll show pictures. How does the mica perform in cold process? Is there any information about how the mica performs in hot process? And how does the mica perform in melt and pour soap? Just to give you an example, and then you want to record that information. I write it right on the bottle itself. So I'm going to try to cover this and I'll leave it back so that you can't really see it well. This mica here is a mica that I purchased. Very pretty color, beautiful color. And I did not properly read the description. When I went back to the company later, I saw that it was clearly marked that this mica is not soap stable. So what I did was I wrote on the label itself that it's not true to color. I tested it myself in hot process. I know it's not true to color, and that it actually provides no color at all whatsoever in cold process. However, it's beautiful for makeup. It's beautiful for makeup. So when it comes to micas, and this company in particular has a lot of oxides or natural micas. So for me, this is not a company that I normally recommend for colors just because you have to look so hard. Instead, this company here, Mad Oils, they produce fantastic colors. Their colors are so good that they are actually in fragrance oil company that's getting ready to pull back on their fragrances and push forward with their micas. They just provide excellent micas. This company here, Micas and More is what that says. It's Steph's Micas and More. Excellent micas. And then there's another company, if I can find one here by them. That's Mad Oils. Nurture Soap. Nurture Soap Supplies. Again, excellent colors. And that's not to say that the colors from other companies are not great, because that first company that I showed, they do have some beautiful micas, but I just feel like they have enough micas that do not perform well in soap that that for me it's just easier to go to a company where their products are, when you go to their website, their products are kind of separated by their colors, and it's less likely for you to pick up a color that you end up not needing or being able to use in soap. So those are micas. Oxides. True iron oxides are naturally occurring mineral deposits. The oxides used in cosmetics may use trace amount of oxides, but are primarily synthetic. Oxides are what some people consider oxides natural, some people don't. Oxides are what are they're considered nature identical, which means that they are produced in a lab, but they have the same mineral makeup as the actual oxide. So is it natural? The oxides that we use here, no, they're produced in a lab. But does it have the same breakdown, the same actual makeup of oxides, natural oxides? Yes. So it's kind of up to you how you want to consider oxides. Another thing about micas. Micas come in a variety of colors. I mean a variety. If there is a color out there, you can get a mica that is that color. While oxides are generally very limited in color. They are, you can get brown, green, orange, yellow, those kind of colors. But I don't think I've ever seen a blue oxide. You can get black oxide. I don't think I've ever seen a blue. I've never seen a purple, but you can get a red oxide. So they're pretty limited in color, but their color is extremely concentrated and strong. As a matter of fact, I can probably use 3 or 4 times the amount of this and not get a bleeding color in my soap of that mica. However, if I use this, it's green chrome oxide from the company Brambleberry, and that's what it looks like. It's a bit more firm than mica is, a bit more clumpy than mica is, but all you need is a little tiny bit. And by a little tiny, I mean 1/4 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon, and it is going to color your soap. You have to be very careful with oxides, or else you will just have bright green lather. And I have done it. I've done it. The first time I did it, I made a mental note. The second time I did it, I used less and it was still too much. So with oxides, you just kind of want to know a little takes you a very, very long way. I find that oxides are a little bit more difficult to dissolve. I've found that they can be dissolved in glycerin or in water, but they just take more and they don't dissolve as smoothly as micas dissolve. You will definitely not want to add an oxide straight into your batter. You will want to dissolve it first with, the Frappuccino, the frother. It's a frother. You want to dissolve it with a frother in a little cup and then add that into your soap. Okay, so those are your oxides. And then we have natural colors. So there are soapers, and I have some soapers that only use natural colors. And there are a variety of ways that you can naturally color your soap. And you kind of have to think a little bit outside the box on getting those ingredients, because number one, the FDA does not allow a lot of these things to be used as colorant in your soap. Now, let me define that. The FDA allows their use in soap. The FDA does not approve of you labeling their use as a color in soap. Okay? So if you are going to use a natural color, one that I'm about to talk about, it cannot be labeled as a colorant on your soap. Okay? You can use it. You can use it all day long, but you can't label it as a colorant on your soap. So some good ones, or popular ones, I would say, one is turmeric. So although this looks brown in color, turmeric, because I just wiped this, turmeric actually provides a beautiful golden yellow in soap. There's a glare so you can't see that too well, but I got this turmeric yellow all over my hands and just figured I may as well show it. Turmeric actually provides a very beautiful yellow in soap. Turmeric also, as a spice, is very good for a lot of skin ailment type conditions. So it is an excellent alternative to using a yellow mica in soap. It takes a bit more preparation when you use a natural colorant in soap, i.e., if you're going to infuse a spice like turmeric, you have to start early. So you can infuse it over time, which is what I do, or you can infuse it in a crock pot, and that's going to take a few hours. So you want to prepare if you're going to use a natural color. But turmeric provides a beautiful yellow. This one is annatto, and what I have are annatto seeds here at the bottom of this jar. And the annatto is just sitting in, it's a ½ ounce of annatto, and it's sitting in 8 ounces of olive oil. And this annatto is going to provide a beautiful pink in soap, a very nice pink in soap. This one is alkanet root, and it's a powder that's sitting at the bottom of olive oil, and it infuses its color, as you can see, very dark. As a matter of fact, it infuses its color into the olive oil, and alkanet root provides a very nice purple. Not a very, very heavy purple. It can sometimes go grayish depending on the natural color of the batter itself. And a lot of times, no worries, a lot of times alkanet root is combined with annatto in order to get a more defined and beautiful purple. Other colors that you can use are indigo. Indigo is combined with lye to provide the prettiest blue. You can infuse indigo, but when you strain it, you'll still get specks of indigo in your soap, and those specks stain. So indigo is usually used, it's put into your lye water and then strained using a cheesecloth into your soap. Other natural colorants are activated charcoal, not charcoal, activated charcoal. That provides a beautiful black. I've used paprika infused olive oil to get a nice, beautiful orange. Cocoa powder is used to provide a nice, natural, beautiful brown. I use liquid chlorophyll in my facial bar to give it a nice, beautiful green. There are tons and tons. Calendula can sit in oil for months and it'll provide a soft yellow. You can also use different things as your lye water. I have used lemon juice as my lye water, and it provided a soft buttery yellow. And I have used orange juice as my lye water, and it provided a really soft orange color. So those are our natural colors, but the choices of natural colors are really endless. The one thing you don't want to do with a natural color is use a spice that is an irritant. Like, I wouldn't use pepper. I wouldn't use cinnamon or clove. I wouldn't use a spice that is known to be a natural irritant. So the last one we want to talk about are fragrances, which are our fragrance oils and our essential oils. An essential oil is an oil that is found naturally occurring in a fruit or in a plant or even in a tree, such as, our sandalwood oil or our cedarwood oil. But the difference between your essential oil and your fragrance oil is that your fragrance oil is synthetically produced, while your essential oil is going to be cold pressed or distilled out of the natural fruit, the fruit rind, a seed, or out of plant leaves like peppermint. So another thing that we want to talk about, remember we talked about, we didn't talk about it yet. So with essential oils, they themselves have color. For instance, orange times 10 is in itself orange. The essential oil itself is orange. How does that affect your soap? Well, it turns your soap orange. It'll give it a slight orange tint, which means it's going to be really difficult for you to get a purple soap if your fragrance is orange. And that's just kind of something that you want to keep in mind. Not all fragrances that have color discolor. Example, patchouli. Patchouli is a very dark brown. It is an essential oil, and every time I pour it into my soap, I think, oh my gosh, this is going to discolor. But patchouli does not discolor. So what are some things that we kind of look for, some constituents in our essential oils that we kind of look for to know whether or not it's going to discolor? Well, one of them is vanilla. Does this essential oil naturally have any vanilla in it? Or eugenol. Eugenol also discolors, can discolor or leave a brownish type tint. What kind of essential oils have eugenol in them? You're going to find that in your cinnamon, your clove, in those kinds of fragrances. And those kind of essential oils also are known skin irritants. So with essential oils, I am by no means the pro. I'm going to give you some websites that you can learn from. The first one is Robert Tisserand. His last name is spelled Tisserand. Robert Tisserand. He is one of the, if not the, most well-known professor of essential oils. He has books, he has classes. That is definitely, if you're looking for a reference, I will go to Robert Tisserand's website or to order his book. Kevin Dunn, last name D-U-N-N. Kevin Dunn is the chemistry father. Kevin Dunn is the chemistry father of soap making. So if you kind of want to know how an ingredient is going to react in soap making, what is the chemistry of essential oil in soap making, you want to go to Kevin Dunn and really look up and read on his information. Lastly, there's a lady here on Facebook named Lady Danny. L-A-D-Y-D-A-N-N-I. Lady Danny. And she's here on Periscope. I do too. She scopes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I think that's 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And she is phenomenal. She is phenomenal. So she can definitely give you any kind of information that you want when it comes to essential oils. I study her, I make sure I watch her scopes, and I refer to her scopes. So if you have questions about essential oils, she is the person that you want to go to. Fragrance oils are synthetic. They are lab made. And being lab made, they are a bit safer, I should say, than essential oils. However, essential oils can provide a lot of medicinal properties that you're just not going to get from fragrance oils. Fragrance oils are solely for the purpose of pleasing the nose, while essential oils do have medicinal properties to them, but you have to have some experience using essential oils, lest you make a product that is actually irritating to the skin instead of helpful for the skin. So fragrance oils, you want to, before using them, number one, again, you want to read those reviews because you want to know how it's going to react in your soap. Is it going to cause your soap to accelerate? Is it going to cause your soap to seize, which is an extreme acceleration where your soap just locks up instead of going through the processes? Is it going to dissipate and completely fall out of your soap and be non-existent in a month. With fragrances, you want to really read your reviews, read the information, and know what your fragrance is going to do. With both fragrance oils and essential oils, you want to know what those constituents are. Does it have eugenol in it? Does it have vanilla in it? Does it have orange essential oil in it? Because a lot of fragrance oils do use essential oils. So does it have orange essential oil in it? Does it have components in it that are going to discolor your soap? And then how do you kind of work around that discoloration? With the brown soap that I showed, that fragrance had a lot of vanilla in it. And I knew that it was going to discolor. So I added my molasses to it to make it greatly discolor, and I used that discoloration to my advantage to give me that very beautiful dark brown. So you just really want to know how your fragrances and your essential oils are going to impact your soap. As well, you want to know what actually makes an essential oil. My time is running out. What actually makes an essential oil? For instance, grapeseed oil does not smell like grapes. Strawberries have a seed, but they do not produce an oil. So if someone is selling you a strawberry oil, it is not an essential oil. It will never be an essential oil. Watermelon seeds do produce some type of an oil, but it does not smell like watermelons. Mango butter does produce an actual butter, but it does not smell like mango. So there, while oranges, you can press the peel of the orange and get a beautiful, fragrant essential oil. Orange essential oil, bergamot, lime, lemon, citrus essential oils can be very fleeting in soap making. So you just want to make sure you do your research when you purchase your product and you know exactly what you're getting and you know how it's going to behave in soap so that you are better prepared and that you're able to formulate a good recipe that is going to provide the type of bar that it is that you want, that it has the qualities that you want. I'll let you guys go and I will see you tomorrow, all right? I'll see you next time, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.